fans, and welcome to the second edition of Saints TVW, which is your weekly wrap-up of the AFLW action involving our mighty Saints. Welcome back. Thank you to all the people who have passed on such wonderful compliments from our first round of reviews. Our first comments have been really positive, so thank you for all the support. Please keep them coming. If you feel that there's anything else you'd like to see in these reviews, if you'd like to see anything else on the channel, please don't hesitate to get in contact. But from having a look at the game on the weekend, the first quarter really didn't tell the whole story for the match. I think a lot of us might have gotten a little bit disheartened after the first quarter, but we'll talk about that in just a little moment. The final scores, we scored 3-2-20 and NAM scored 6 goals, 10-46. It was the first week of Indigenous recognition round, and that's why the Melbourne Football Club were referred to as NAM, a traditional name for the Melbourne area. And it should be noted actually that our Guernsey, our wonderful Indigenous Guernsey, were worn by the girls and was designed by a Kirra and Pequarong woman, an artist of the Goodamundra Nation, Bailey Misford. And her work was absolutely sensational. If you get a chance to look at the girls' Guernsey, it was really well designed. And according to some of the reading and some of the research that I did on the Saints website, it really depicted it as Saints Indigenous, I'm just reading here, Saints Indigenous playing group and the club's connection to the local land and waterways of the Bunurong people. And what was really fantastic is the artist, Bailey Misford. She has a connection to St Kilda, which is fantastic. Her father, Jason, was a former coach and player with the Saints, and she's also cousins with Xavier and Raf Clark. So fantastic to have a person with such a strong St Kilda connection getting down to the club and contributing such a wonderful artwork. So thank you very much, Bailey. I know I'm looking forward to seeing the girls wearing your Guernsey again next weekend when we take on Gold Coast. But if we look back to our contest against NAM, you know, the first quarter, there's not much else to be said other than we were really blown off the park. And that was really unfortunate. Though I think a good lesson for us, if our pressure's not on, if it's not really up to scratch for the entire match for 4 quarters, it's going to allow those really well-drilled teams like Melbourne to get off the chain early and dominate. And that's exactly what happened to us in the first quarter on the weekend. Look, I think that they're a good side. They're a slick side. I'm just referencing my notes here from when I was watching the game. They look like a slick side. They're experienced, and overall, I think what really saw that first quarter dominance was that they were cleaner with the ball. They kept finding options all over the ground and hit those options really well. They moved the ball really well, and we just weren't at the level in that first quarter. And really, if we look at the match stats, that first quarter, but overall, the contested possessions really tell the story of the match. In that the D's or NAM, they beat us there 122-89. So if we look for improvement, I suppose it's in that level of at the contest and really being first to the ball and putting that pressure on. That being said, after quarter time, I really thought that a different side came out, or less that it was a different side, but more that we just got into the groove of our game and we were able to play our way a little bit more. So what really tells the day for us in terms of our day was the final tackle count. So we out-tackled Melbourne basically more than double. We ended up with 86-40 as a tackle count. So that's massive in terms of showing where our pressure was at. So for mine, even though the first quarter really is where the match was won and lost, the response after quarter time was really, really impressive. And that's really what I want to spend a bit of time talking about, because it's all well and good to get bogged down in the fact that we're blown off the park and really, weren't able to put much scoreboard pressure on. But if we delve a bit deeper and we think about where our improvement has come from this season, we've got to look at the response after quarter time. And there's a few people I really want to single out. But overall, what really saw the turnaround for us after quarter time were really follow-up efforts and one-on-one contests. Essentially, our pressure went right back up after quarter time, and that manifested itself in a lot of different ways. For example, in the third quarter alone, we were up on the tackle count 26-13 in the third quarter alone. We kept the D's basically goalless, scoreless beyond the first quarter. I think they might have kicked one late from memory, but really, they did all their goal scoring in the first quarter and were really able to tighten up after that. We ended up winning the second quarter. I'm pretty sure we won the third quarter as well. So, it was those small efforts to get our game back on track and to play our way that really, really saw us do that. And that was driven by players like Olivia Vesely, who I know I should have mentioned last week as being one of our best, and as well as Molly McDonald. I'll come back to those girls a little bit later, but Nat Exon and Erin McKinnon as well, they really contributed really well in some really small moments. Really, from what I noticed, is to, do the little things to cause a stoppage or to bring the ball to ground and really try and shut down Melbourne's ability to move their ball. So it was really great to see. So a couple of other highlights for me really was our backline. I'm a massive rat for our backline, and I mean, it's no secret to anyone that knows me and likes to the AFLW. I'll talk about Bianca Jacobson in just a little while, but she really leads the charge out of the backline. Watching the game, in the third quarter in particular, we were getting absolutely pummeled in the third quarter by NAM. They were absolutely bombing the ball, like real repeat entries were really, really getting slammed, but our backline was really able to stem the bleeding, and I think that the arm wrestle that the match became after quarter time was really driven by the back line. That being said, our forward line still looked really dangerous and we really threatened at times. And, again, easy for me to say, but just from a viewer's perspective, I think from an armchair expert perspective, if we were able to lock the ball into our forward line some more, I think we would have really pressured a little bit more in our overall, I suppose, margin, or the margin between NAM and us would have been a little bit narrower, but that is what it is, I suppose. If we get into some specific players, we only scored 3 goals for the match, and we've gone into the difficulty we had scoring just before, but we had Kate Sheila with 2 and Jess Matten with 1. Kate Sheila's had a really great start to the year, and what I noticed from her on Sunday was her 2-way running. I mean, I don't think on tippy toes and heels I would be even half as tall as Kate Sheila, but really her ability to cover ground is absolutely amazing. There was a passage of play, I want to say it was in the second or third quarter, where she had a shot at goal, and then I want to say like 2 or 3 kicks later she was marking the ball at fullback. So it was absolutely phenomenal effort from Kate Sheila, and with another 2 goals she's really up there. I want to say she's perhaps equal first for the amount of goals kicked by an individual player in the AFLW so far this season. So long may that continue. In terms of our best, so, there are a couple of players that really stood out for me, and I said I was going to come back to talk about Olivia Vesely. She had 16 disposals and 5 tackles, but she really made an impact around the ground, like I said previously, with those small moments where she was able to bring the ball to ground and to force a real contest, which made all the difference for us in the second quarter and in the second half as well. Georgia Patrikios continues to be one of our absolute best. It's so fantastic to have her back in the engine room of our midfield. She had 14 disposals and 7 tackles. Bianca Jacobson as well had 14 disposals and another 3 tackles, but was really fantastic down back. Hannah Stewart had 12 disposals and 2 tackles. Molly McDonald, she had 9 disposals and 7 tackles, but really, if you were at the game, if you watched the replay, her efforts around the ground were really solid, and it almost flew under the radar a little bit. It was fantastic that she got some recognition from the commentators, though, who really saw those small efforts. Darcy Guttridge had 10 disposals and 4 tackles. She was also fantastic running out of the back line. There were some moments where she really contributed to driving the ball forward, which was absolutely fantastic. I just want to point out as well, Clara Fitzpatrick, she really battled all day, and I think deserves the recognition for the job that she did on Taylor Harris. I mean, you'd have to be living under a rock to know the caliber of player that Taylor Harris is, and really for Clara Fitzpatrick to have 7 touches, 2 tackles, and to keep Harris scoreless. Well, she didn't kick a goal, she kicked a behind. I think even though Harris, really gave Clara Fitzpatrick a run for her money, I think she had a fantastic effort to keep her as quiet as she did. So, we could go through each and every person individually, and even though I've singled out some individuals there, what tells the story for me this week is the team effort after quarter time to shut down that free-flowing game style from the Ds to really increase our pressure as a side and consequentially be able to make it a real arm wrestle after quarter time. If we took away the quarter time score, I mean, the margin would be much closer. And really, I think that puts us in good stead going forward because, you know, we obviously were taught the lesson that if we're not on from the very first bounce, there are teams like NAM, like other players in other sides who contribute to their teams, just really willing them forward and getting out of the blocks quickly. So that's a good lesson for us to be able to take forward into the AFLW season. So we record our first loss for the season. I think it was, you know, dare I say, an honourable loss, but perhaps good for us to learn these lessons earlier in the year before we keep going throughout the season and we perhaps suffer some of these lessons a little bit late. In terms of some news for this week, really, there was a recognition, as I mentioned, of Indigenous round, which was absolutely brilliant. But I also wanted to mention the recognition from the club, tragically, timely, where Are You OK Day coincided in the same week as Spud's birthday. The story of Spud is a tragic one. But it's really brilliant that the AFL in general, but also the Saints, are really promoting Are You OK Day and that importance of checking in on a mate. I know I personally work in an all-boys school, and the profile was really high this year about how to start a conversation and what a conversation needs to look like to someone you care about. So that can be quite confronting. So if you are interested in any further information about Are You OK Day, I really encourage you to Google Are You OK Day, have a look at their website and the resources that can help you perhaps get past some of that awkwardness and start a conversation that could really go and save someone's life. Tragically, Jade Van Dyke as well, she's done for the season. She's fallen victim to the dreaded ACL rupture. So that's really unfortunate news, particularly after only having played 2 games for the season. So we certainly wish Jade all the best. We know how difficult the recovery from the ACL can be. So we certainly wish her all the best and look forward to seeing her run out next season. Next week, we're heading north. We're heading quite far north, actually. I must say I didn't recognise the code for the ground that we're playing at, so I looked it up. It's Harrop Park, otherwise known as Great Barrier Reef Oval in Mackay. So we're taking on the Gold Coast Suns. I'm sure all of us shivering down here in Melbourne will be really jealous of the girls being able to go north, defrost a little bit, and hopefully continue our really positive form from the start of the year. Into another hopefully fantastic win against the Gold Coast Suns. So overall, to wrap up there, I think it's not all doom and gloom. It's really not all doom and gloom. And it proves the point why if you just simply look at the scores of the AFLW, you might look at that and go, oh, the Saints were no good this week. They got blown off the park. Really, hopefully what you've taken from my rap today is that you need to watch the girls to get the true picture. You need to watch the match to get the true understanding of where we're at. Because for me, if we scrap the first quarter, of course, which I know is important and really everything counts, but if you scrap that first quarter, we played a really good side and we played against them really, really well. Sure, there are some things to work on, some things to edit, but really, the ability for us to centre and to get our game back on track was absolutely brilliant. So I might leave it there for this week. I'm really enjoying contributing to the podcast. I'm really enjoying contributing to the channel, I should say, rather than the podcast. The boys have got the podcast absolutely under control. Again, a big thank you to Jake and the boys at Saints TV for having me on and allowing me to contribute. Please encourage you to like this video, to subscribe, to share it. If there's anything that we are doing terrifically, please pass us that feedback. If there's anything you'd like to see more of, less of, please also let us know as well. We're really interested in hearing from you guys in terms of what you'd like to see as a part of this AFLW wrap. So thank you for listening to today's video. Thank you for hanging on for the last 15 minutes if you haven't already gotten sick of me and my voice. I'm really looking forward to watching the girls next week, seeing how we go against the Gold Coast Suns. So thanks again for watching, and until next time, go you mighty Saints.